CSM presents Time Out with Coach. Time Out.
This time out is about listening. And I hope you'll give me the next few minutes so that I can give you a better life. The purpose of time out is to take a brief rest from stress, refocus, and strategize for success. Listening is a vital topic. Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, one of the world's most successful corporations, attributed his success to listening to their people on the ground, their salespeople, their local managers. Listening is carefully hearing what is said behind the words. Someone suggested that 75% of all communication is nonverbal. That is, its body movement, its facial expression, its tone of voice. All of these things contribute to what is really being said. If you just listen to the words, you really won't get all of the meaning, and you may miss the most important part. Both the speaker and the words have to be taken seriously. I sometimes think that our whole culture suffers from ADD, attention deficit disorder. I know I do, and I really have to work at intently listening. I'm easily distracted. My wife suggested to me one time that I needed to look at people when they were talking. She noticed that I had a tendency to look around while I was trying to listen. I was distracted. She pointed out that it was more respectful to look at people when they're talking, and I agreed and didn't realize that I was looking around. The fact is, I was missing a lot of what was being said. I wasn't taking the speaker as seriously as I needed to, and often the speaker realizes it, and it curtails what they have to say. Listening is measured by retention, what we can actually remember, and what we can accurately repeat, if we can give the essence of what is being said. Did you ever play the game gossip when you were young? A group of people sitting around in a circle, and the first one makes a statement to the one sitting next, whispers in his ear, and then the statement goes around the room. Did you notice that when it got back to you that it was something totally different? The fact is that represents a great deal of communication. It isn't said clearly, and it isn't heard clearly. But I thought you said. That's something you hear a lot. It's the response of failed listening and unclear speaking. Listening well can clear up at least 50% of the poor communication. W. Edwards Deming, a physicist and graduate of Yale University with a Ph.D. in 1928, had an excellent resume of government, academic, and private sector service. One of the most respected consultants of the 20th century. He went to Japan in 1946, met with Japanese management leaders, and gained a great reputation. He taught them how to reach world markets quicker than they thought they could, with products and service. He offered the same advice to U.S. managers, particularly Detroit. But they didn't like his blunt style, and they rejected what he had to say. Meanwhile, the Japanese auto manufacturers eclipsed U.S. automakers in world markets because the Japanese listened. It wasn't a matter of ability. It was a matter of listening. The U.S. culture is heavily invested in talking and advertising. What I want to say to you is we need to invest more in listening. Talking doesn't do much good if there are no real listeners. There are lots of ways to listen. I travel a great deal and stay in hotels and deal with businesses, and I notice more and more there are questionnaires and surveys everywhere. Almost every hotel I go to has a questionnaire for me to fill out. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Listening is done by surveys, by questionnaires. Jim Rohn, a noted motivational speaker, said feedback is the breakfast of champions. People like it when you ask for their opinion, and they feel like they're participating. One way to listen is to research your clients. Recently, our company, CSM Publishing, did a survey. We learned something that was startling. 80% of our customers are 50 years of age or older. That greatly concerns us, and we have started a new strategy to reach younger people. You need to listen in order to know the facts. When you listen, you may change your strategy. That's our story. In 1985, I was the chairman of the board of directors for a magazine publishing company. We were consistently losing money. Magazines are a difficult way to make money. And so we hired a consultant. The consultant interviewed lots of our customers, interviewed our staff, interviewed the management, and finally interviewed me. I discovered that our business had very little future financially. But what happened out of it was a new concept, and our administrator, with our backing, started a new, highly successful music company. It's touched literally millions of lives. That venture came out of listening. When you listen, you find out who you're talking to. In fact, you're finding out who you work for. You're finding out what they need. Listening, whether through surveys or through direct contact, creates a dialogue, a relationship to your client. It gives them a sense of partnership in your business. And sometimes it gives them a chance to vent. But in any case, it gives you the opportunity to regain their trust. At least their frustration is focused to you and not to other people outside. Calvin Coolidge said, "No man ever listened himself out of a job." Keith Landis is owner and president of Resident Artists in Chardon, Ohio. He and his wife, Diane, have 4 grown children. Keith is a very successful businessman. Here's what he says. He says that he encourages all his employees to cultivate a hearing ear. He says we live in a culture where hearing is a problem. We are bombarded by cell phones, computers, email, television, and other distractions. Really listening to a customer's desires and needs is the first step in serving them. And Keith, I agree. You can't serve anyone that you don't listen to. But listening itself comes off as a service. I regard the book of Proverbs as the greatest book on wisdom ever written. It teaches us how to become a learner. In other words, it teaches us how to become a listener, whether we're listening to the author of a book or listening to someone who is speaking through some other media. Chapters 4 and chapters 8 of the book of Proverbs talk about the priority of wisdom. In fact, the entire book could be said to be about wisdom. It's imperative that we read sources of wisdom if we're going to get it. Here's some of the things that it says. The way of a fool seems right to him, but a wise man listens to advice. A wise son heeds his father's instructions, but a mocker does not listen to rebuke. He who listens to a life-giving rebuke will be at home among the wise. A wicked man listens to evil lips. A liar pays attention to malicious gossip. He who answers before listening, that is his folly and shame. Listen to advice and accept instruction, and in the end you will be wise. Stop listening to instruction, my son, and you will stray from the words of knowledge. A false witness will perish, and whoever listens to him will be destroyed forever. Pay attention and listen to the sayings of the wise. Apply your heart to what I teach. Listen, my son, and be wise, and keep your heart on the right path. Listen to your father who gave you life, and do not despise your mother when she is old. Well, the book of Proverbs has many other things to say about listening. How can you improve in listening? Here are about 8 ways that I'd like to quickly suggest. 1, choose who you're going to listen to. Know their credentials, and give them respect if their credentials warrant it. Pay attention to the introduction. 2, focus on what they say. Focus not only on the words, but on the other aspects of their communication, their facial expression. Focus on their body language. Focus on them and not just their words. 3, don't interrupt. Let them finish. If they're worth listening to, let them have their say. 4, don't let your own disagreement close your ears. Set aside any personal feelings that you have and let them speak. You may hear something you didn't know. 5, listen to your adversaries. They may tell you what your friends want. If you only listen to your close friends, you may not find out the real truth that's out there. 6, realize that there's more to know about any topic. 1 Corinthians 8:1, Paul says, if anyone thinks he knows anything, let him know one thing. He doesn't know anything the way he ought to know it. There's always more to know. 7, you may take notes. Taking notes will help you to remember what was said. It also makes the speaker aware that you're taking them seriously, and they may dig up their best truths. You can encourage them. Later on, as you review your notes, you might even refine what was said and be able to say it better. 8, resist distractions. Don't be distracted by a person's appearance, or don't be distracted about how they deliver what they're saying or their style. A lot of people would have missed Einstein's wisdom because he had unkept hair, or someone may have a beard and put you off, whatever. Remember this, the essence and the substance will only be gotten if you're not distracted. Hitler was a great speaker, but a poor listener. Stalin was a brutal dictator, but he didn't hear what was really going on. Saddam Hussein might still be alive if he had listened. Wisdom, understanding, strategy, execution, they all come from listening. If you listen, you can gain wisdom, you can see into the situation, you can develop a good strategy. And if those who work with you and for you listen, they can execute it. Good players are good listeners. Well, timeout is over. And remember, this ain't no game.
For more information on Time Out with Coach or CSM, please visit www.csmpublishing.org.